More coming up. Welcome to Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. The United Nations has launched an emergency appeal for $459 million to aid flood victims in Pakistan. On Wednesday, Emergency Relief Coordinator John Holmes warned a new wave of deaths could hit flood victims unless urgent aid is delivered.
Assessments of losses and damages are still underway, as you can imagine. But it's already very clear that these floods, the worst in Pakistan for over 80 years, have caused and are continuing to cause immense destruction and immense suffering. Unless aid activities continue to be rapidly scaled up to reach those who remain displaced and without immediate access to food and clean drinking water, additional loss of human lives and further suffering will occur.
Although the U.S. has provided millions in aid, the war in Afghanistan has hindered its ability to provide the needed assistance. On Wednesday, the U.S. announced a tripling of helicopters being sent to Pakistan to 19. The Obama administration had been criticized for sending only 6 helicopters so far, despite a Pakistani request for dozens more. The U.S. had denied the request because the helicopters play a key role in Afghan combat operations. Asked about transferring the helicopters earlier this week, a senior military official told the Washington Post the decision would have to come from Washington, adding, "Do the helicopters exist in the region? Yes. Are they available? No." The U.S. military is being accused of killing 3 innocent civilians in eastern Afghanistan today. Residents of the Zaranhil village in Wardak province say U.S. troops shot dead 3 brothers and then arrested their father after raiding their family home. The U.S.-led NATO force says the victims were, quote, suspected insurgents who had drawn weapons on the troops. Earlier today, hundreds of Afghans blocked the main road leading through the area in a protest against the killings. Top U.S. military officials, meanwhile, are preparing to lobby for a delayed withdrawal from Afghanistan. The U.S. has set a target date for starting to pull out troops next summer. But the Washington Post reports the new Afghan war commander, General David Petraeus, is taking steps to emphasize developments on the ground that would make a rapid withdrawal unwise, he said. Summarizing the military's argument, a senior administration official said, quote, "While we've been in Afghanistan for 9 years, only in the past 12 months or so have we started doing this right. We need to give it some time and think about what our long-term presence in Afghanistan should look like." The talk of a delayed Afghan withdrawal comes as Iraq's top military officer has said he wants U.S. troops to stay in Iraq for the next decade, despite a withdrawal timetable for the end of next year. Speaking to Agence France Presse, Lieutenant General Babakar Zabari said he wants the U.S. Army to remain in Iraq until the Iraqi army is fully ready in 2020. Zabari's comments come as the Obama administration's claiming it's on pace to withdraw around 14,000 U.S. troops from Iraq by the end of the month. White House Press Secretary Robert Gibbs said the U.S. commander in Iraq, General Ray Odierno, briefed the White House on Wednesday.
The President heard directly from General Odierno, who said that we're on target to complete our drawdown by the end of August. Already we've removed over 80,000 troops from Iraq since President Obama took office. General Odierno also reported that the security situation has retained the significant improvements made over the last couple of years, and that Iraqi security forces are fully prepared to be in the lead when we end our combat mission later this month.
The Obama administration is reportedly pressuring some of its top allies to crack down on WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange for releasing thousands of classified U.S. military records on the Afghan war. According to the news website The Daily Beast, the U.S. has asked Britain, Germany, Australia, and other Western governments to open criminal investigations of Assange and severely restrict his international travel. The U.S. is considering charges of its own against Assange, including violation of the Espionage Act. Assange, meanwhile, is claiming the Pentagon's refusing to assist him in his group's attempt to remove the names of Afghan civilians and others who could be endangered by the release of 15,000 additional military documents. Assange says neither the Pentagon nor human rights groups that have urged him to censor the names have been willing to help foot the bill for an exhaustive review. The Daily Beast also reports the U.S. may review its relations with Iceland, where WikiLeaks is effectively based. The Huffington Post is reporting the oil giant BP appears to have structured its $20 billion compensation fund so that will only be solvent if the company continues profiting from oil drilling in the Gulf of Mexico. The U.S. government's agreement establishing the fund isn't with BP or even BP America, but with a subsidiary called BP Exploration and Production, or BPEC, which operates BP's Gulf oil leases. With the compensation fund tied to BPEC, it could presumably fold in the event BPEC stops generating revenue from its Gulf operations. The structuring also could increase BP's leverage in ensuring a continued Gulf presence should it come under challenge. Texas, meanwhile, has filed a lawsuit seeking to reverse the Obama administration's moratorium on new deepwater offshore drilling. The ban freezes new deepwater drilling permits and has suspended operations at 33 wells until at least November 30th. A new analysis from the group Healthcare for America Now shows the nation's 5 largest insurance companies paid top executives nearly $200 million last year, while hitting customers with double-digit premium hikes. Executives at Cigna, Humana, United Health Group, and WellPoint all received pay hikes in 2009. Cigna paid its top 2 executives over $136 million. The lone top exec to see his pay decline was Aetna's Ron Williams, who received $18.2 million. Florida Attorney General and Republican gubernatorial hopeful Bill McCollum has proposed a new anti-immigrant measure that could be even harsher than the notorious Arizona law partially stricken down last month. McCollum's bill would impose a 20-day jail sentence for any immigrant who doesn't carry documentation, as well as longer sentences for crimes committed by undocumented immigrants. On Wednesday, McCollum said his bill goes one step further than Arizona's and predicted Arizona will want to pass a similar measure.
This is our own law, not theirs, and I think when we're done passing this law, Arizona's going to want our law. They're going to want to pass our law because we're better, we're stronger, we're tougher, and we're fairer.
Secretary of State Hillary Clinton is urging Senate passage of an arms control treaty with Russia following a delayed vote on the pact last week. The Strategic Arms Reduction Treaty calls for the U.S. and Russia to cut their deployed arsenals to 1,550 nuclear warheads and 700 missile silos and bombers each. Democrats have moved a vote on the measure to next month to address Republican demands on preserving nuclear spending. Clinton said failure to approve the deal threatens national security.
Our national security is at risk. There is an urgency to ratify this treaty because we currently lack verification measures with Russia, which only hurts our national security interests. Our ability to know and understand changes in Russia's nuclear arsenal will erode without the treaty.
A military tribunal has sentenced a Guantanamo prisoner who once served as Osama bin Laden's cook to 14 years in prison. Ibrahim al-Qosi is expected to receive a much shorter term, however, under a plea deal reached last month. Qosi's conviction has forced the Pentagon to admit it has no written policies on where to hold prisoners convicted in military commissions after they're sentenced. The Argentine human rights group Grandmothers of the Plaza de Mayo has been nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize. The group started in 1977 when mothers who lost children under Argentina's military dictatorship gathered to trade stories and provide support. That meeting later spawned the first of scores of demonstrations and actions against